Cage. Peach. I could eat a peach for hours. Please.
Greetings and salutations. This is Cage's Kiss, the ultimate Cage cast, where we discuss each of the National Treasure's cinematic masterpieces and his life. We also try to glean whatever kernels of wisdom we can from his character that week. My name is Linda, but you can call me...
How are you alive?
Out of space? I don't know.
Well, stranger,
I don't know.
I'm the blasted
I really
heath.
Shouldn't be.
Don't go out on the blasted heath now.
That's what my mom always told me.
I'm also known as Adrian, stranger.
And I'm just a piece of glowing meteor that really doesn't like Will Wheaton, apparently.
Will Wheaton.
But, yeah, I think we're all, as Linda coined it, a nice menagerie of monsters.
It's a zoo from hell. And we have an awesome guest with us this week. Can you care to introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. This is Steve from Origin of Species. I get to talk cage with some great people, and also alpacas. This night just keeps getting better.
Alpacas?
And I do have to say, also, Linda told me that I was your replacement because you couldn't get Darcy the male girl.
Yeah.
And when she told me that totally made sense, because when you can't get Diana Prince, a.k.a. Darcy the male girl, I'm the logical next best option. So thank you guys very much.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is as close as I'll ever get to her, so this is pretty good for me.
Well, you know, everybody's always confusing you guys.
Yeah.
They even finish each other's sentences, am I right?
I would just advise everyone stay away from Pornhub with that. Thank you very much.
Oh, but also, I have to say I love your show, and I'm just jealous that I hadn't thought about it before. Because it's such a cool idea, and you guys are you're awesome, and really do your homework.
Well, thank you so much. And I have to give credit to my podcast partner, Scott. It is his idea. He was at a bar a couple years ago, and a guy told him he liked the cut of his jib. And that was the spark that lit our podcast empire. So he gets credit for the idea. I get credit for showing up and making smart mouth comments. He does the hard work.
And then the guy in the bar said, 23 skidoo!
Yeah. Which also is an episode we did too.
Oh, yeah.
My parents lied to me and told me that phrase was in fact meaningless. And then many years later, I saw a film strip and learned that they were liars. Lying liars!
And never trusted anything your parents said again.
Well, basically.
Which is the lesson of this movie, I think.
What are you talking about, Donnie? You know that smell. You know that cancer smell.
This rotting smell. What are we talking about,
it
Linda?
was, I was just going to say it's because of Steve that we got this amazing gift that we're going to have to share on Twitter, too.
Oh, a gift you got?
No, GIF. GIF.
The gift of second sight that you two got when the visitor came to your farm and when you were children, and then you had a really special summer, and you were able to get that old lady out of that coma, and that dog talked to you, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it's not obvious, today we are covering Color Out of Space.
I believe it's the Color Out of Space.
Color with a U, by the way.
Yeah, color.
I like if you have a friend who drinks fancy French teas, you want to have a movie with color with a U in it. So that's good. I think it's fitting.
Indeed.
Qu'est-ce que c'est and avec and such like. Yeah.
Menage a trois.
A bout de foule, à faville. Fous-toi.
Do any of you want to try to summarize?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
You do it.
The name
You're
Blasted
making a
Heath
return.
seemed to me very odd and theatrical, and I wondered how it had come into the folklore of a Puritan people. Then I saw that dark westward tangle of glens and slopes for myself, and ceased to wonder at anything beside its own elder mystery.
Well, that's it.
So,
Thanks
Linda,
for
You're all
joining us.
hoes. You have a
Can you
Lovecraft
make
fan
sense of
on.
Adrian's bullshittery?
We're watching this Richard Stanley movie from 2019 called The Color Out of Space.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
That's my name. I'm Linda. I don't feel so well lately. I'm Linda.
Oh my God! It was like I was talking without even opening my mouth. It was crazy.
Because you weren't. You're stuck to Adrian's back. Because that's what you get.
Tony the reactor.
The light hurts, Quaid.
How the hell do you summarize the movie? I mean, okay, so Nicolas Cage gets to play a father figure, whose wife is a recovering cancer patient. Sounds like breast cancer.
And business lady.
And a business lady. she does business.
Sophisticated lady.
His daughter is a practicing Wiccan, and he has two sons, Jack and Benny, oddly enough. Okay, yeah, so they're on a farm. They used to live in the city, but now they live in a farm where the mom's still doing business, and he's trying to grow tomatoes
And
and
alpacas.
raise llamas.
And peaches.
Yeah, alpacas.
Yeah.
Alpacas.
He's growing a lot.
Big difference between
Yes.
alpacas and llamas. Alpacas are like the fancy French tea drinking types. And the llamas are like, they're buying the beers, not even buying like a 6-pack of beer. They're buying like the 24-ounce can of beer
Yes.
at the convenience store and drinking in the
llamas are
parking
Keith
lot.
Stone.
And they're all about yelling out freedom.
No, that's a different breed. It's kind of like the people that buy the big ass bottle of, oh, this is a banana nut bread stout. Ah, I will take this home with me.
Oh wait, that's me.
A seasonal Sison? Oh my. This will go just wonderfully with this evening.
On this podcast, though, when it comes to the beer drinking, I'm the one in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So,
But,
family on a farm. Meteor
hits.
spits out.
Meteor shit. And
it's got this
uh,
color, like I never saw a color like that before.
yeah,
It's
and weird
magenta.
plants start growing around, and they start losing their minds. And
Ward Phillips and Tommy Chong are there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it. But yeah, it's nice. It's trippy. It's fantastic. It's
And you don't get it,
science
man.
fiction.
What's out there is in here now. Dave's not here, man.
So, and I gotta say, but like when I first heard about it, I was like, wait, Richard Stanley's back, and he's working with Nicolas Cage.
He's
Holy
back
shit!
in the New York groove, man.
Because
God
I gotta
damn
get
it,
back in time. So, for those who don't know, Richard Stanley he's fucking amazing. He's had a couple great indie hits that became cult classics.
And he's from
like
South
Hardware
Africa.
and
Dust Devil.
Dust Devil. And if you haven't seen the documentary Lost Soul, I would highly recommend it.
Though he would
Because I don't know if he would.
not. No,
but,
he
uh,
really
He seems to
doesn't.
come off pretty good. He comes off pretty good in that.
Yeah, I think
If
so.
you're a Val Kilmer or Marlon Brando fan, maybe not as
Well,
much.
we know why Val
Yeah.
Kilmer was
Yeah.
acting the way he was acting on that one. Even though he is, in general, kind of a prick on that one. He just lost his dad, So, that's extra.
Yeah,
Extra
but,
Val Kilmer.
No, Val
extra,
Kilmer is
extra
reported to be an ass. He
No,
does
no.
it a lot
Yeah,
on other
he's
sets,
just-
No,
but-
he is. It's just on that one, like he was
which
ass
is
plus
unfortunate
because of
because
that.
I love him.
We can still love him, You can
Yeah,
learn to
yeah.
forgive Linda, maybe for once. I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
It's kind
I
of hard
can't.
though if you want to find Richard Stanley's films, because especially Hardware, that is a very, very hard movie to come by.
Which I don't get because it's so freaking bitchin', dude.
Mm.
It really is. I mean, it's a very cool.
That
sci-fi
VHS used to
music
be in like every mom and pop rental store in the 90s.
Oh,
Remember
yeah,
that?
I still have it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
have it
awesome.
too around here somewhere. Yeah.
You know, now that you say that, you're kind of triggering a memory. It's almost like if you got a small business license to have your own video store, that was with it. That and like the stuff. It was just like a couple like obligatory
Oh,
movies you
fucking
had to
A, right.
have to be
Yeah.
a mom and pop video
That's what
store.
I've talked a lot about that in my October horror movie reviews. Just always loving seeing, like, you still have in your mind specific artwork from
Yeah.
posters you saw, and like seeing cardboard cutouts for Silent Night, Deadly Night, and just having the frickin'
Yeah.
Mhm.
hand with the axe on top of the rooftop through the chimney.
And Mutant was always on those
so
shelves, and it
cool.
always looked so bitchin'. And then years later, you see it and realize that Riff Tracks was doing it and deserved it.
Yeah, and then you always remember that what's behind that beaded curtain that you're not supposed to go in that room just wasn't really worth it.
Who's behind the door?
And our
The
parents
green
didn't watch us close enough to not notice that we were going back.
Well, you know,
there.
Aladdin, Debbie Does Dallas, same movie, really. Yeah. Riff
Whole
Raff,
new world.
Street Rat, I would tap that.
But of course, when we're talking about Lost Soul, it's a documentary based on the making of the crazy ass story of the making of
Dr.
the island of
Moreau.
Dr. Moreau. And Richard Stanley was attached to it until I think the third day of shooting, and which he got fired, and he just kind of
Then he hid in the jungle and set
it's-
fire to the set.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
were behind on a lot of stuff. They were going way over budget. Brando was being
Mhm.
Brando, and
He always will.
Yeah.
it was
you know.
just not a cool time.
to be fair, play devil's advocate for Brando. I believe his daughter had just killed herself the day.
Oh my
before
God.
They were supposed to start.
That
shooting.
movie was fucking
Well-
smited by God. And then you get
When
poor
you
John
have his
Frankenheimer.
daughter trying to talk to
Yeah.
people in a language you don't know because you're trying to buy a prostitute, your life kind of has different changes to it.
So,
Yeah, no, it's been reported he used to have his daughter talk to prostitutes so he could get them in bed, but he couldn't speak their language all the time, so she
Oh.
had a
it's a
special gift
viable
to do so.
system.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of buying your
Color
your
Out of
father a
Space,
Yeah.
prostitute.
It happened on September 7th of 2019. The budget is reported being anywhere from $6 to $12 million. It earned a tad over 1 million because audiences suck so thoroughly, and it probably didn't get a proper
Yes.
release.
It didn't get
Well,
a
it
proper
didn't
release
really.
at all.
I mean,
It was
I had to
very,
see it
very
at,
limited.
Yeah.
I had to see it at a film festival, sort of thing, like a very limited release.
Yeah, most things that are even decent only get a limited release, unfortunately. Because
Yeah.
studios are like, oh no, this is actually decent. Oh, no, we can't have people seeing this. Oh, sorry. But yeah, no, but unlike most Cage movies, especially unlike most Cage movies where he's in a prominent role, this actually opened at the domestic box office in some capacity, and it reached all the way up to number 24, which is also excellent for Nicolas Cage in the 2010s. It was behind stuff like Bad Boys for Life and Doolittle and that Little Women remake.
Oh, that's right. Robert Downey Jr. was in Doolittle.
Yeah, I think he wouldn't want you to remember that he
Yeah.
was, but he certainly was.
Yeah.
They should have paired this. That would have been a good like double
Yeah.
feature. Maybe you know that people are doing drive-ins now.
Oh, yeah.
That would've
Doolittle,
been really fun,
and then
yeah.
you know, get ready for some alpaca action.
Yeah.
If only.
Those alpacas aren't going to milk themselves. You know what I mean?
If only they had Dr. Doolittle there to talk to them.
Do you know how
As they're
amazing it
being
would be?
Oh, yeah.
What are they saying?
But as usual, this
Little to the left.
shit. As usual, this opened in the United Arab Emirates, but it did its worst business in New Zealand somehow.
Huh.
I guess Peter Jackson was jealous and told all his New Zealand friends not to see it. It only opened at number 31 there.
Yeah.
Did you have
I
more
don't
facts
think
you were going to
Richard
go over,
Stanley-
Linda?
Well, I was just gonna say that Richard Stanley's an odd sort, and I kind of fucking love him.
Yeah.
But he had, because of the whole fiasco with the island of Dr. Moreau, he basically went into hiding in the was it the Pyrenees Mountains in France?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And
Just like the Rolling
for
Stones.
over 20 years.
Oh my God.
Well, he's been doing
Yeah.
a lot of exploring, actually.
Yeah, like Nicolas Cage, he also tried to find the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
It's true.
And like Nicolas Cage, he had a
And,
parent who was obsessed with H.P. Lovecraft.
well, yeah, and in the cabin that he was living in France, it was supposed to be like a really mystical place. I believe the a couple of villages were raised in the 13th century by crusaders, and the Nazis went through it looking for the Holy Grail. So
So his cabin was haunted by the spirit of Guy de Reyes?
I mean, it's possible. So, but he
Maybe that explains his hat. He's trying to been putting out that Indiana Jones vibe his whole life. He was
Oh, he's totally
been
rocking that
preparing for
hat,
a
mate.
long time.
see that's it.
You wear that hat around Johannesburg, you're going to be very popular.
Oh,
Apparently,
Adrian.
he was during that 20-year span, or the span over 20 years. He took care of his mother, who was dying of cancer, and he shared the experience with some of the cast members. He said, "Quote: Generally, I find that it's always good, just as when you're acting, to be dealing from some moment of truth, from some personal truth, and to be honest as possible." It's the first one of my movies that she won't be watching, and I think she would rather enjoyed it. And because, yeah, like you were saying, she was a fan of Lovecraft, and she used to read him Lovecraft. And Nicolas Cage's father was also a fan. Remember that he was
The professor.
I believe it's and Marianne. And he was also, I believe he was a publicist at one point.
My
but,
old parents
yeah, he
only
was a
read me
literature
Bram
professor.
Stoker and Agatha Christie. They suck.
Hey, Agatha Christie's good.
Not H.P. Lovecraft good.
It's certainly not as racist as Lovecraft.
Yeah, look up the original title of And Then There Were None, a.k.a. 10 Little Indians, and get back to
Oh,
me.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right.
If you were
Anyway.
alive in the
For the
20s...
record, H.P. Lovecraft was only racist outside of his writing.
Yeah. That's actually mostly
Oh,
true,
cool.
too. Yeah, I mean, one besides just the name of a cat and one story that's actually sent incidentally in slave country, the word doesn't actually appear.
Yeah.
So moving along.
But anyway, so yeah, he came back, and it still took a while for him to realize that that he was actually back, and he said that he attributed a lot of the his coming back to Nicolas Cage, saying, quote, "Nick single-handedly restored my faith in the entire process and in Hollywood. He has such a creative and really controlled use of insanity, as opposed to the kind of scattershot madness that brought down Moreau. It restored my faith in the process because that's exactly what we needed." So,
Oh, if only
that was
Nicolas Cage
cool.
had played Dr. Moreau.
Oh my god.
Don't you want all fours? That's the law, okay? Are we not men?
And I have a theory about that. Okay, so I've heard that that Richard Stanley's favorite Nicolas Cage character was from Vampire's Kiss.
I read that as well, yeah.
Peter Lowe, but and that people think that that's why he does his sort of Peter Lowe voice in Color Out of Space when he's kind of turning into his
He was
dad.
having his freakouts.
But I think that personally, because I think I remember with Vampire's Kiss, he said that he modeled Peter Lowe after his father a little
Yeah,
bit.
he
So I
did.
can't help but wonder, yeah, like is that really him doing Peter Lowe, or is that him like
No,
actually
he said that it was
channeling
modeled
his
after
father?
his dad, and that's what he brought to this too as well. So it's
See,
not
that's
just
what
you
I
reading
figured.
into it. It was said.
It's for mum and dad.
I put that on the trivia, like one of the first pieces of trivia for the on IMDb after I saw it in the theater, and it was taken down. So I was like, well, fuck, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Wait, they take that down, but they'll keep it's like, did you know that Nicolas Cage's name is Nicholas and a character he played in this movie is also named Nicholas? It's spooky.
Yeah. Dude,
IMDb
there
trivia
was
is
some
a trash
trivia in
hole now.
here. Yeah, there was like some trivia about the character Ezra as a hippie. The hippie movement back in San Francisco started with blah blah blah. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
This is one of the many movies from
Shit.
2008 that clocked in at 95 minutes. Other such movies are.
I just don't ever go to IMDb. It has no value to me.
Well, it used to
really
be a real site, and some of the trivia that was added before it was a shit fire is still there. So there is some value, but it got way too commercial and fucked up. IMDb's just... And the trouble is Wikipedia didn't catch up fast enough to fill the void, so we got nothing! Nothing!
Woohoo!
But anyway...
Wikipedia is kind of like the Tommy Chong guy living on
much,
the
yeah.
grounds of
Oh,
the
what are you
alpaca
talking about,
farm.
brother? That's straight from the mother's
For
tit.
reasons that don't... He's just kind of there. Like,
Yes.
I forget, they imply that they can't get rid of him, but when you see him, it's like, I think you could get him off
could
your land if you
easily
really
do
needed
that,
to.
yeah.
Yes.
You notice that when the first member of the family we meet is the Wiccan daughter Lavinia, and when Ward Phillips encounters her, she's being immediately like an upper class cunt, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's just all like, I'm doing this ceremony with the hair, and I'll be invoking the spirit. Oh my God, get off of my land! Who told you could be here?
Well, it
Private
was a very
property.
private moment that he interrupted. And she may have felt just
Yeah.
a little bit embarrassed with what the hell she was doing. But that
Maybe
actually
it
is
was
another thing I was
that,
going to
but,
bring up is she is responsible for the shit that happens.
How do you figure?
Well, since we haven't really gotten into the rest of the movie, why not jump into this and part of the ending? With her, she was asking for protection, and
Mhm.
she wanted to get the hell out of there. She wanted to go somewhere else. In the movie, there's a point where the mother and her baby son are blasted by a beam of light from whatever this entity is.
By the color.
And it morphs them into a creature. Nick Cage says he's going to deal with it and he's going to kill the mom monster, but he doesn't. Instead, he leaves her to live. And at one point, he brings their daughter up to the room to feed her to the mom.
It's like, "Now
But the
feed your
mom can't attack her. And the whole point is she was reading from the Necronomicon and from these other books she had in her room. She invoked a protection spell for herself. So none of these things could harm her. But she did, and she was the only family member who got teleported to another world. She got what she asked for.
I hope you're
It
happy
may not have been
now.
what she
Teleported?
wanted. Yeah. And even Stanley said the same thing, that she was poofed. She was moved from this world and she was teleported to the other. That's why you got to see the portal from their world for a brief moment with all the
Yeah.
tentacle beast and stuff for Lovecraft fans to jizz over.
Right, we got
And
the
that's where she ended up going off to.
we got the clip from Slither, and then she went into the end of knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
So,
yes,
well,
so
it was her
Lavinia,
fault.
it's all your fault. We blame you.
Yes.
You know, I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy.
You know what you did.
So, this is the fifth overall and third major adaptation of the H.P. Lovecraft 1927 story, Color Out of Space with a U. Donnie, I think I made you watch the 1965 version by Daniel Howler, Die Monster Die, with Boris Karloff and Nick Adams.
I watched it too.
Oh, good.
You
Okay,
did,
yeah.
And I also own the Scream Factory's double release of The Curse and The Curse 2 with Will Wheaton. or as
Okay,
the
I've
list
seen
says,
more of The
Will
Curse
Wheaton.
too. Oddly enough, I saw because both of
It's
them
an
I saw
awesome
on
movie.
television. No, what I saw of the first one was awesome. Yeah, well, it's not really related to its sequels either, so we should probably say.
No, I mean, and honestly, comparing this movie to The Curse was awesome. I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff in that. But even, like, in comparison with Die Monster Die, and I even watched the 2013
You watched the German version,
very
yeah.
German film. It was very shot in, like, in an old 1920s, almost like Metropolis style.
Nice,
It was very,
yeah.
very artsy. They all roughly have about the same thing. A meteor crashes to Earth. food begins to grow and it's oversized. It's all just amazing, and it's all filled with ungodly horrors. It all tastes wrong. It infects the land, and it just spreads its evilness across
This
the
asteroid
land.
is Monsanto.
Yeah, but I think this is the only movie I can say honestly that really stuck to the book, because I also have I actually have the book, and I have the Cadabra Records release they put out, which of the whole story being read. And
Was it read by Roddy
it's-
McDowell or David McCallum?
No, it would have
Oh
been
my
awesome,
God,
but
that'd be
no.
awesome.
But no, it's in those ones the meteor vanishes after it's landed, like
Yeah.
after a day or so.
Yeah, it dissipates.
Yeah, but in all the others, it's just very prominently still.
Yeah,
there somehow.
the Die Monster Die version does take a lot of liberties. It's an American International production, and they treat it like they did their post cycle ones that Roger Corman did.
Yeah, they treated it like a lot of Castle films, honestly.
And
That's just how the movie came.
although I think it worked out really well in that case, because they did like it.
did.
They've got it a lot like The Fall of the House of Usher by Corman, where they've got the spooky paintings of the past family members, and Karloff believes that his father was a devil worshiper, and that there's some kind of magical thing at work. And then you get the dungeon where he keeps the meteor. And it's got the paintings on the walls with the spooky like eye sockets and like gems set in the eye holes.
And the devil painting.
The devil
So
paintings,
cool.
like it's man, I love that shit. And Nick Adams from Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, he's like back the fuck up, I'm American. I can tell you're American. Your clothes don't fit proper. I suppose you can recommend a tailor. No, sir, that's a personal
Hey,
thing.
His clothes fit just fine for his pants coming up just under the nipples. Thank you.
That's where you put them back then. If you put them too low, it'll
Dottie,
fall
you
under the
were,
stomach thing.
You were suggesting the curse, and
Yes.
I remember saying like, "Wait, it's not about a period."
Yes.
And then like just moments later, I saw Species episode on Crimson Tide, and I was like, "What is?
Yeah.
Is everybody talking about periods?"
Then you're on flow
You
code.
always thinking about the
Oh!
vagina.
I guess so.
Linda, it did work though. That was our stealth way to appeal to the female demographic. So it worked.
Case in point.
Take it back, Jesus.
You just pass a classroom like, so we're going to talk about the moon cycle today. It's like, stop talking about periods.
I've got the movie running silent in the background, and I just saw G-Spot the cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat.
Meow.
Poor G-Spot.
I love how
Get
at
it!
one point they say, where's the G spot? Like nobody knows.
That's a delightful dialogue. That's another thing I fucking love about this movie, is that it's a movie made by 80s people, so it actually looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get
There are a
lines
lot of,
like, yeah, hairy axe wound, fuck off, maggot dick.
You got a lot of like classic references there to like I mean I think it's obvious where you see like maybe not references but like an homage, like a taste of The Thing.
Mm.
Mhm.
And you also get a lot of like comedy in there too as well.
Yeah.
I mean those moments of like milking a fucking alpaca.
It's a good blend. It is. And Cage is budgeted
Yeah.
correctly, I think. Unlike so many other movies where directors don't know what to do with him, I think this may actually be the
Yeah.
only movie within the last 10 years where somebody has an appropriate reaction to a Cage moment. Where he has the huge pumpkin-sized tomatoes and
Yeah.
he's chucking them in the trash after taking a bite out of them, and his wife's like, "Could you just fucking fix the satellite dish? What the fuck with you?"
Yes, I love that so
I'm
much.
trying to do business.
I'm a businesswoman doing business. Yeah.
I'm trying to do Skype.
I do
calls.
business in this house. Can't you see me on the phone?
I'm very important. I'm talking about euros and shit.
I love how you guys make her sound like Lisa from The Room.
That's pretty much how our job is.
Necktie around the head. Yep.
Yeah.
That was Jolie Richardson, by the way, playing the Cage wife here.
Yes.
And she's from England, you know. And she's one of the few female leads who's actually age appropriate to Cage. She was born in '65. And she was in stuff like Event Horizon and Snowden and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is frickin' bitchin', the David Fincher version. Yeah.
And her mother is Vanessa Redgrave.
What? No fucking shit. No way.
Yeah, she's the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave, who
From fucking Blow
it's
Up,
funny because
dude.
I've just been watching Call the Midwife, and she's the narrator of it. But also, you might know her from Deep Impact.
Oh,
Classic
ow.
such as Deep Impact.
That was a movie.
Speaking of urethras.
But also, her dad is Tony Richardson, the director
Oh,
of
no
Hotel New Hampshire, Tom Jones,
Okay, yeah,
Taste the
Tom
Honey,
Jones, yeah, and he did fucking Charge of the Light Brigade with David Hemmings. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, and Julie Richardson was also Catherine Parr in The Tudors, which I also loved, and I may have to cover her in Broomflicks eventually because she played Glinda in Emerald City. So,
Sweetness.
yay. Got that coming.
So, talent-rich environment, yeah? Because Tommy Chong's also a director, you know. Just ask
Well, I
Cheech
was gonna
Marin.
say, like, they have like an amazing cast. Like I feel like everybody was really strong. Even though Madeline Arthur, who played Lavinia, wasn't really. She didn't have a lot of movies under her belt before this, or
But after this, her
roles,
career just
but
took off.
she did play Frey in The Magicians, and I fucking love The Magicians. And Julian Hilliard, who played Jack, he's the child version of Luke in The Haunting of Hill House. And he's the son of the girl who played Nicolas Cage's daughter in Drive Angry.
I'm just mad that they made The Haunting of Hill House because the 1963 Robert Wise version was perfect and should have been left alone.
I'm just glad that
Oh,
Nicolas
I
Cage
love it.
actually attempted making a cassoulet for his family, even though his daughter was being a bitch about eating it.
See, isn't he nice?
I have that in my notes. Donnie, have you tried cassoulet? With
I
your
have.
French girlfriend?
Fiance. I have. It's very
Ooh.
delicious.
Foutoir.
It's basically just a stew, but it's very, very like, oh god, you have so many beans in this thing, like an ungodly amount of beans.
So you just
So
sort of
not a
take
lot of
flight
people like it.
afterwards.
Pretty much, yeah. But it's like you have.
But that's what the alpaca
That's
milk.
yeah.
The alpaca
That'll
it
balance your
balances
shit
it
right
out.
the fuck out. Yeah.
Unless you're lactose intolerant, like Ward.
Just
Like
straight
Ward,
from the
thank
teeth.
you, who was played by Elliot Knight, who is from Birmingham, the one that's in England. Yes. And you may remember him from How to Get Away with Murder and the American Gothic series. And he was also in the Sinbad series, the one that was about the sailor and not the American comic.
And he
Okay.
also played Merlin in Once Upon a Time.
Merlin!
So
Dumbledore!
yeah, that's the one. And introducing the up and coming actor Tommy Chong.
Tommy Chong!
Yeah.
Dave's not here, man.
Yes, Adrian.
Tommy Chong and Cheech and Chong actually in general just like make me think of my childhood with all the movies Donnie and I used to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Young
He's the only
man.
actor I really kind
Except-
of thought was just a little out of place in this, but
Yeah, because he plays the same character that he plays in absolutely
Pretty
everything
much,
he's
yeah.
ever
Well,
played.
Yeah.
I mean, I still, and it's kind of weird because it's like I still don't really feel that he was fitted for this, but I absolutely loved his ending in this. And
He
especially
makes
with the creepy
sense.
recording.
Yes.
That was really fun.
He does
Oh,
make
it's
sense
fucking
to some
great.
degree to the fact that this is a successfully modernized version of the story. In that, you know, like you have these old New England weirdos, you know, in 1927, and what's going to be the version, you know, of an old crusty weirdo, you know, in 2019, you know, like it could still be a crusty like hick type, you know, or it could be an aging hippie.
Yeah.
But hey, like
Yeah.
Akira Kurosawa said, you know, everybody can play just one person, and that's themselves. And if you're Audie Murphy, you can't even do that.
One thing I do enjoy about this, I mean, even though it is what kind of turned some people off from enjoying the film, especially because a lot of the reviews that came out at the time, and a lot of people what they were saying online, is they liked the first half of the film, but then when it started getting artsy is when they hated it. And to them, artsy was when they started introducing the whole time loops that were happening in the film.
Oh god damn it.
And it's like
Just
it's
everything's artsy to
trying-
them then. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like to me, it's like that's pretty classic sci-fi. It was really kind of interesting how
Yeah.
they did that, especially to have it going as far back as when Lavinia is cleaning up the mess after her mom has been taken to the hospital because she was chopping up her fingers as well as Julian and vegetables. So yeah. But it was actually really well done. It was really neat, and especially when Nicolas Cage starts going crazy, especially after he had been shot by the sheriff and you thought he was dead. And
Yeah.
it's like, no,
They're not my
coming
family.
back in a loop.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you didn't know this existed, Donnie and I and Linda, all of us, we have a reaction track to Color Out of Space that we did on our Patreon.
Yeah, we did a commentary.
Yeah, because for me it was a reaction track because that was my first time seeing this version of the movie. Yeah.
And you can listen to it for just $1 a month.
Just $1.
Just $1.
Subtle plug.
Just $1, and I knew. Ooh,
You know, Nicolas Cage was apparently supposed to work with Stanley on Dust Devil.
Yeah.
Oh, hot.
And yeah, I know, right? I can't find why that didn't work out. I looked, but I couldn't find anything about it. But I did have a kind of cool quote from Nicolas Cage. He says, quote, "When you first meet him, he can look like a bit of a sorcerer. You don't know what you're going to get in a wonderful way, but he can have that intensity." And he also said, "I could see he had a powerful connection with his mom. I had a powerful connection with my father. So Richard and I had a lot to talk about together and felt the connection of a kindred spirit. We could speak the same language."
And then we shroomed together and
Like-
flew over canyons.
You
Yeah.
saying
With our
that he
cats.
said he looked like a wizard to him. I remember
Sorcerer.
seeing that quote, and after watching all these Cage films, I just thought between him always wearing an overcoat and wearing his hat, Nick Cage was probably like, "You look just like I did in Sorcerer's Apprentice. Oh my God, are you a wizard?"
Genuine, actual wizard. Blown away.
And Stanley's like, "Yeah." Yeah, buddy.
I'm a film sorcerer.
Anyway, I've always been a leg man. Oh, cutting off your legs, that's kinky. Let's watch Boxing Helena. That gets me really hot.
Oh, but I have to tell you. Okay, so Richard Stanley has said that besides planning a follow-up to Hardware, he's
Ooh.
also planning to do the sort of trilogy of Lovecraft stories.
I heard that. I didn't know about the
And-
hardware, though. Is he going to get Dylan McDermott and Iggy Pop back?
Oh God.
This is all I know.
Okay.
Is that he's planning on making a follow-up. But he also plans to follow this movie up with another Lovecraft story adaptation. He's been writing an adaptation of the Dunwich Horror.
The Dunwich Horror, which
will
is the other
involve-
Daniel Howler H.P. Lovecraft adaptation in 1970. It all fits!
But he said it will involve, quote, backward MAGA era hillbillies who have interbred with ultra dimensional demons from beyond
Oh
space.
my God.
End quote.
Well, I'm sure
was
that
going to be
Elijah
a
Wood will
space
produce that
project.
too.
Yeah.
So if he goes for consistency, there won't be alpacas in this one.
No.
There'll definitely be llamas
Oh,
in that
Will be
movie.
the llamas.
Folks
No
at home, we hope you're
alpacas
following along
for
with
that.
the Alpaca llama hierarchy here. Now I have to find a llama and put a red hat on it.
Well, if you guys don't mind, can I share some alpaca history that lines up
Sure.
a whole lot with this
Oh
movie?
my gosh, yeah,
So-
yes, please.
So several years ago, when my daughter was younger, she had an affinity for alpacas. So we were on vacation one summer and found an alpaca farm to visit. So, if you haven't heard of this place, it's not a problem. Have you ever heard of Smith Mountain
I
Lake,
have not.
Virginia?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I had never heard of it. I've lived in Virginia my whole life. However, if you've ever watched the film What About Bob,
Ah,
Oh,
the location they filmed for New Hampshire is actually Smith Mountain Lake. So that was
Oh.
me being me. That was the main reason we went to Smith Mountain Lake, and I have seen the What About Bob house via boat. But at the same time, we were down there. We found an alpaca farm, so we thought we were going to go. My daughter's about 2 or 3 at the time. We thought we'd just go pet some alpacas and leave.
Uh-oh.
Unbeknownst to us, we received a 3-hour education on alpacas. as we went through the farm. So, and to tie this in a little bit more to color of space, Smith Mountain Lake is a man-made lake that was made in the late 1960s. A dam was created, much like what was going to happen to
Don't
the
drink that
farm.
water.
So don't drink the water. So tying it. So even though I spent 3 hours at Alpaca Farm, these are the two big things I took away from it. One, their fur is not called fur. It's called fiber.
Oh.
And you can take this fiber and you can harvest it. So you can make alpaca products. If you see something that's made with alpaca, it's not made with alpaca fur. It's made with alpaca
If I say
fiber.
fur, somebody will slap me
And
on
the
the back of the head and correct me.
And so that's not llamas we're dealing with
Okay.
here. We're talking alpacas.
We're up in
This is
fancy
fiber.
town. Okay.
And the second thing I took away, and this woman repeated this often, was how much you could get if your alpacas are insured.
Oh.
And as we went through this, I want to say the numbers were maybe $45,000 an alpaca.
Oh.
Fuck.
And she had a lot of alpacas, and I'm thinking this is some sort of weird financial bubble that's going to burst one day. Or if I kept checking the newspaper in that area to see if there was, an accident at the alpaca farm that wiped out everything. So that made me think too, if this was some sort of like, maybe we think we're seeing a meteor hit, but maybe this is some weird insurance scam that Nicolas Cage's character is running.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just to say, another way to look at it, this might be Richard Stanley's way to say, if things don't work out with this movie, I've got a bunch of alpacas that are going to accidentally die. But guess
I'm
who's all
balancing
insured?
my portfolio right now. Taking money out of pork bellies and putting them in alpacas. I think it's working out really well.
I would have
Does
liked to have
the,
seen Nick Cage calling the insurance agency. I'm like, am I covered by transcendental mutations from other dimensions for my alpaca?
Did I not tell you to feed the alpacas?
yeah, I
There
shot
has to
them.
be a list at every insurance company that once they just go through a list and no, Nicolas Cage, we love you. But you're Bangkok dangerous. We're not insuring you for anything. Shut it down. Hard pass.
Another thing you got to remember in the rules is add some fennel to their seed.
Yeah, I shot them myself. Is that going to be an issue?
I squeeze the almonds to make the milk you see.
How many head of almond do you have?
Wow.
I hate
I
being
know
shaved,
that.
but I love shaving. Is that a problem?
God damn it. So, Richard Stanley was talking about how
Richard Stanley.
this also in Richard
Stanley.
was talking about how he was sort of also inspired by what's going on with the Earth, and he said, "quote We're all facing a situation where planet Earth and the future of mankind is starting to look more and more checkered. The world is clearly changing, and we're not in control of that process. We can no longer be certain that the world will be the same for our world for our children as it is for us." I think that's a very distressing thought, and I guess that's kind of a bit of the influence for this movie as well. That and I guess he wanted to comment on the alpaca situation.
Dude, I had a nightmare.
Somebody's
got to
say it.
Like just last night, that the oceans had risen and we all had to live on giant marine mammals, and I was like having to hack up marine mammals and shit and skin them. But there was nowhere to stand.
Why?
We were all on the water. It was all there was to eat. It was Water World.
it Water
It was
World?
Water World, man. It's Chinatown. There's no way out of it. Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny that you'd say that, because my original face-off idea was going to have what's his name from that Kevin
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
yeah, that
Fuck
guy.
yeah.
I was originally going to put him in this, but then I changed my mind, but I couldn't remember who it was that I was originally thinking of. So it's funny that you would have a Waterworld dream. But
Oh, Costner,
yeah.
right?
So-
Okay. And I was thinking
Kevin
like
Costner,
Kevin
thank you.
James in Color Out of Space. Oh no!
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart would be way better than Kevin James.
Yeah, let's be fair.
Although Paul
But
Blart getting killed by meteor radiation, if it's just 90 minutes of him slowly dying and no attempts at jokes, hey, maybe.
Meteor shit. But I did enjoy the sort of like the beautiful horror scenes in this this movie. Like I think Donnie was talking about Tommy Chong's character Ezra, his last scene.
It's just a color, but it burns.
Yes, that's
yeah, it's fucking amazing, and just the scene where toward the end where Ward sees the supposedly deceased Nicolas Cage character just like sitting in the couch, and he looks over at him, and it's just,
and he says, "Great
I don't know,
party,
there's just
isn't
something
it?"
beautiful about it.
Did you
yeah, I found like there's a lot of stuff in there that I really enjoyed looking
Linda,
at.
did you read about why they chose magenta for the color out of space?
Because they wanted to piss you off?
No. Apparently magenta was used because it is technically an extra spectral color.
Yeah, even the
Oh.
guy who did the soundtrack kind of did the same with the music, because he was using a lot of underwater and choral sounds.
Yeah.
That was the color that came to him in
Yeah.
his head with when he made the
Nice.
soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, like, you had to pick
Well,
something
Richard
because you
Stanley-
can't actually like show a color that's not visible to the
You
human
can't
eye.
make
you
up
know?
a color,
Right.
no.
I mean, well, you could use that
Stanley was
Ghostbusters
talking
effect, but
about that.
Oy.
He was saying that like he was practicing with like gases and steam,
Yeah.
and he wanted that etherealness to fit in with the music as well, and he really enjoyed how it does kind of jump to like a spooky spectrum, and like it's toward the middle half of the movie.
apparently, if electricity is applied to certain parts of the brain, you are able to actually see a color that's not normally visible to the human eye. Like, people describe it as like red,
Yeah.
yellow, green, or some shit like that. Like, it's like a bunch of things at once. It's almost like a fucking something out of Monet.
There was a doctor actually who was famous in photography because he was taking people's photographs when he was electroshocking them to mark their facial expressions.
Nice.
There's actually a huge book you can find. I think it might even be online, where you see these people's faces and like really exaggerated, almost Joker-like smiles.
It's a coffee table book
faces.
called "Oops, I Weed Myself."
But there's a lot of weird stuff like that out there in the world.
Yeah, so listeners, if you go to patreon.com/cageskiss, all one word, if you pay let's say $30 a month, we'll do that with Adrian.
Hey, if you guys start kicking in about $4,000 a month, you can have anything you want. Anything.
We'll perform a lobotomy.
I'm in a hurry to quit my job, so Patreon, kick in. You can have whatever.
Yeah.
We'll try to see if we could get Adrian to see that color. that no one else
the
can
color. Bad color.
But I don't know, the horror that's in this, I still don't really. I don't know. I'm a stickler. I don't like when people classify movies as horror. And it's even
Really?
going back to things like in our VHS days, it's like you used to have a combination of, you always found science fiction in the horror section because they didn't know what the hell to do with that. And they did the same
Like
thing with
Alien?
other films. Kind of like
Well,
how
genre
Alien was always
classification is
classified
hard.
as a horror, but
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
technically not really, even with Aliens. Aliens is more of an action film versus a horror film.
Yeah.
But with this, I mean,
Well, every
the horror
movie in the
scenes that
Alien series
happen-
is a different genre.
The horror scenes that happen in this are really sporadic, and they're not really. It's not really horror per se. I mean, the closest you get, I'd say, is like the sheriff getting pulled up into a tree, and then the tree actually face raping him and tearing his body.
I mean, it's a
apart.
movie about mounting dread where everybody melts. I mean,
Yeah, I
Kinda,
mean-
yeah.
I think it's subjective.
Genre
But,
classification is super difficult. At the Hollywood Video, before I worked there, actually, they didn't have the action section for some reason. They had it labeled the adventure section.
Yeah.
And
I
one of the
remember that.
movies that I thought was really, really out of place in there, they had Natural Born Killers in there. And it's like, Natural Born
Yeah.
Killers is not like Die Hard, man. Like, Natural Born Killers is, I mean, like, if you want to get really technical, it's a black comedy.
Well, Blockbuster also didn't know the difference between animated films and hentai and anime, so they put those two together when we were growing up in the 80s, 90s.
If
and that was a very fun
well,
time
also
to
if you're going for any place that
discover
does like
animation.
secondhand stuff, a lot of things it's just whatever it looked like. There was this
Yeah.
terrible urban fantasy book I'd read. Well, I started to read and then threw aside. And it had like this sort of bastardly main character, and he says shit and fuck a lot. And then I went to the paperback exchange and found that book shoved in the children's section because the cover art's kind of cartoony.
Yeah.
And I said, "You don't want to sell this to children."
Yeah.
Going by genre, I mean, talking about the genre, I know Stanley said once before that that everything he does is quote unquote pretty much a deadpan apocalyptic black comedy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like going with that, you could be right. I mean, maybe it's not horror in his eyes either. Maybe it's just
Well, also,
black comedy.
Yeah.
people in modern times will often really lose sight of what horror is and can be, because horror is traditionally a subgenre of fantasy.
Yeah.
But there's never a fantasy section in a store. You get science fiction, or you get horror, or you get action drama. Family.
That depends. If you went to Hollywood Video, you definitely had fantasy.
Depending on the one
But-
you went to.
Yeah. But,
They also had a
I mean, there's
mystery
things
section, which was mostly softcore.
There's things I really enjoyed about this and things that I kind of didn't. But looking at all the different versions they've done of this, I think that this one, whether I'm guessing it was intentional, nothing to do with their budget, they really didn't focus that much on what was happening to the rest of the town outside of there,
Yeah.
the farmhouse.
Yeah.
But it's like in all the other tellings of it, they usually would talk about that. Even the Die Monster Die, they talked about how nothing grew out in that area, how all the plants and trees had rotted from the inside and
Right.
were vanishing. So that's why he was doing all this scientific work with the meteor, putting them in the planters to grow these plants, because he was trying to revitalize the plants. and
Right,
the
because
whole
before the
town.
blasted heath was the blasted heath, you had this
Yeah.
super huge lush vegetation very briefly, and he was trying to harness that power.
Right. And even in the curse, they kind of show early on what's going on with everybody being affected because they're drinking the water. And it's almost done comically, where you have this guy being taken away in a cop car with moles on his face, screaming at people, "No, don't drink the water." And you see like an old woman drinking straight from the fucking hose, and another woman getting sprayed down.
just like
with
the
her
end of
mouth
Cabin
open.
Fever.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, it's still
That's also how Doolittle ended, the Robert Downey one.
yes, with people
Yeah,
melting into
no,
a
they're
lava.
hauling him away in a straitjacket. He's like, "You're next, you're next."
Yeah. But I mean, I did like, and it was still kind of cool, though I wish they showed a little bit more of it. When the guy's going into the town, talk to them about the water supply and what's going on, and you have the truck that's just filled with all these cats, dogs,
What's left of the alpacas?
other wildlife that have all been affected by this.
Yeah.
And you saw the whatever jumped out in front of his car when they were heading
That was-
back from
that
the
was
hospital,
G-Spot.
That was
like the
G-Spot,
deer.
yeah.
That was G-Spot.
Oh.
Poor G-Spot.
Yeah, that's why Tommy Chung was telling the guys, like, if you see him, you may not recognize him.
G-Spot lost
Yeah.
all his fiber.
Yeah.
That makes me think of if the only thing I think that could be better, or maybe if there was an alternate version of this, is to have John Waters direct.
Oh my god.
Because if you did like a Pink Flamingos version,
know,
there would definitely be
John
llamas.
Waters
in
I
that
would
one.
be a
want to talk
really-
about communism.
A really good guy for doing like a really backwoods, like hicked out situation, since his shit always has so many like fucked up characters in it. I mean, yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually
The polyester
wish he
out of
wrote
space.
a book about his what do you call it? Damn it, the word just escaped me. But he has been hitchhiking. He's been hitchhiking across the
Oh,
U.S.
yeah.
He does?
And there's a lot of people, yeah.
People
and there's
pick him
people
up with that
taking
stash?
pictures with him, picking him up on the side of the road. And he's just like, this is how you meet the most interesting people in America. I'm
I
like,
mean, it's
God, I'd
true.
love it if you wrote a book about this.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, you should
I think he was talking about it,
I-
wasn't he?
I think he actually
Yeah.
did.
I'd buy the fuck out of that
Seriously, I think he just wrote one.
I want to buy this then. That is amazing. I'm adding this to my Christmas.
book. You just made Donnie's year.
Yeah. But I mean, can we at least, because we haven't really discussed I don't want to say how long we've been doing this, but we haven't really discussed that much about the movie itself and what happens in it.
You wanna
can we
talk-
at least talk about the love scene? Because that was just spot on erotic. hardcore.
Are you talking about the when they felt the boom?
Yes, I am. The kids had to hear their parents finding the boom.
Did the earth just move for you too? And then later
Yeah,
on,
time
Cage
to
is in
put
the
on the
shower and
headphones.
finds an ambulatory wad of jizz.
Yes, that's alive
Oh.
and makes him hurt. That actually didn't. What scared me with him was when he's looking at his skin and just all the cracks and wrinkles on it, and just
Yeah,
it just looks
That's like
generally
real
a
life.
Good time to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And the
Ooh,
book
Carsick.
is called Carsick. John
Oh,
Waters
nice.
Hitchhikes Across America. Yeah.
Carsick from all these
But no,
parsnips.
I actually really, there's some moments I really genuinely cared about that they did with this, and I was glad they did. Like the constant, again, how people really hated later on the whole time skipping thing. But it's like, it's been there for so long, especially when the kids
Yeah, how did they
are
not pick
told
up
by
on
Nick
that?
Cage to put the alpacas away, and then
Yeah.
the kid's like, should we tell him about that? It's like, what is he talking about?
Well,
And then later on, much later on, you see what the hell he's talking about when they encounter it. But it's like, that was another one of those moments where it just skipped ahead on events that were
Well-
happening. And even with Nick Cage, when he's on the couch after having been shot, he's going back to
Yeah.
the family being with him watching the TV.
well, this is exactly like things like this are exactly the reason why I always watch the movies multiple times, because if you're going to talk about a thing, you should
Yeah.
probably like have actually paid attention to it somewhat. And a lot of these people who wrote reviews, they kind of watched it once and not and they weren't watching it with their brain or anything.
Yeah.
Watching it with their book.
Yeah, watch it with my butthole. Yeah, Netflix and chill.
But I mean, that is sad because most people, that's how they treat films nowadays. It's just kind of
Yeah.
a watch it and forget it.
Well, I think most modern media is there not to be paid any attention to. Like it's very true of music nowadays.
It is,
Well,
and that's
it's
also
like-
kind of sad.
It's
Because, like,
incredibly
with
sad.
Cinema, you can't really name movies that were out maybe 3-4 years ago that you still remember because most of it's just pass it along.
Well, that's why everything comes out on video instantly if it goes to theaters, like unlike this year, you know.
yeah.
Ugh.
You were
Well,
saying
I know
Linda?
there's like this great debate, like for the last year or so, of just directors saying, like, basically saying that about the Marvel movies.
Oh fuck
Because
those goddamn
and
things.
I have to agree to a certain point. Like I mean, I love watching them. It's something
Yeah.
great where you don't really have to think, and it's fun. But I could see where it's also like, I don't know. I think just it not to pick on Marvel. I'm just
I'll
like
pick
saying
on
that
'em.
there are a lot of blockbuster movies out there that like the most popular ones seem to be the ones that are a little less cerebral and
Well,
just
Michael Bay's movies always make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
A shitload.
But that's even Red Letter Media talked a great deal about this, that comic book movies are killing cinema because they're mindless, because you know what's coming with it. But it's like the escalation they went through when you got to the whole Thanos, it's like that was really awesome, but you're kind of pre-programming people's expectations to a point where once you've had something that lasted over the span of 10 plus years getting there, you're kind of like, okay, well, we just had the mother of all things in our film. How do you go from there? Because anything after that, like the Spider-Man movie that came out after that, really didn't do too well, though it had really awesome characters in there. It
Mm.
just didn't hold up because people expect these grand finales. And that's why I still adamantly, I'm okay with Marvel films, but they are utterly forgettable because they all follow the same algorithm and the
They're
same
very
point where
formulaic,
everything
yeah.
comes up to a big CGI battle in the end, and it's always a villain that's out to destroy the world needing object A in order to do their plan B.
Well, and I feel like they definitely do what they're supposed to do if you think of it as just something that's supposed to be thrilling and something that's supposed to get you to be like, in the
They
scene
definitely
and,
succeed
"Oh,
at being
yeah."
failure.
Yes.
Mental
Or
failure.
if you're Adrian.
Yeah, no, these movies are doing exactly what they're
Yeah.
setting out to do. It's just they don't have a very lofty goal.
Yeah.
And I think part of the goal that's left out too is to
But-
put butts in the
That's
seats
it,
at
yeah.
a movie
Bums on
theater.
seats,
Yeah.
love.
There's lots of movies that you can. I can watch a cinematic
Yeah.
movie at home. I can wait 4 months to see that. But to see a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie
Yeah.
in a theater with people, with the big screen and the
Yeah.
sound system, it I think fits the bill for
Oh
that.
It
God,
does, yeah, but
like
it's
you're right, like the
also
Dolby
it is, but
theaters.
There
it's
is
also
something
kind
to
of
seeing a movie in the
the
theater, but with the audience, I'd rather not. I want to be the only one there.
the thing is, and it's kind of been proven with Star Wars because Disney is just Disney, is you can have too much of a good thing. When you have it in moderation, then it doesn't feel like the market's being oversaturated. Even with stuff that you can mindlessly enjoy and not care if it's cerebral or not. It's just when you have too much of that, people really get burnt out super fast on it.
Well, yeah,
And I was honestly surprised the Marvel movies lasted as long as they did, but it's because they told a genuinely good, thorough story because you knew where they were trying to go with that. But it's like afterward, it's going to be interesting to see how they last with standalone films that are not going to follow that as well. But getting back to the movie and away from this, because that's going to be a
Speaking
whole
of
other
standing.
hour conversation itself.
Yeah. Sorry.
Linda, do you
Linda.
have your segment?
Yes. I want his clothes off.
Close off.
Naked alpacas in all their glory. Behold!
And
They have
Fiber.
and
And insurance
and
policies.
one more technically naked thing.
Well, the mom Jack creature didn't seem to have any clothes.
And don't forget, we
And
get a
the
cage
cage
shower scene.
shower.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
We don't see
true.
Dangus.
You don't really see anything, but yeah, no Dangus, no.
This
no
isn't one of the
bunnies,
Ceci
just,
Cage movies where he's getting with the 21-year-old hookers.
Thankfully.
And that's kind of
Yeah,
okay.
well, this is
Yeah.
why we like this one, I think. It's not a score to settle.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't have minded seeing his wife, but like, I don't really want to see Cage in this one naked. Not naked.
No,
nudity,
you don't
please.
you don't want to see them getting some afternoon delight there.
Afternoon
The
delight. Well, they
sky rockets in
apparently
flight.
ruin parts of the world when they do it. So. No, I don't. Donnie, were
Segment.
you able to find any reviews?
Yes,
we have
I
more
did, and they're
manifestos.
very, very, very long reviews.
Oh, boy.
As people had a
Oh,
lot to
boy.
say.
All right.
This movie was atrocious. I personally have been a fan of Nicolas Cage and will continue to be a fan. However, this movie was just plain garbage. I would love to have had the time and money I spent renting this paid back. The premise sounded super cool, but quickly boiled down to being ridiculous and had outrageous effects. I enjoyed Cage's acting chops, and the other actors tried their best. However, I couldn't get over how little chemistry Cage had as portraying a father. The
What?
chemistry was just not there, and it fell
What
short
the
of
fuck?
believable. The daughter was annoying, and the older son seemed aloof. I
He
get
was high.
what this movie was shooting for with the sci-fi trope. However, the special effects were too over the top or non-existent. The scene where the mother-child were screaming drove me mad. I had to shut this
Oh my
off.
God.
Even with the coronavirus outbreak, save yourself the time and pick up a new hobby or learn a language. Do not waste your quarantine time on this heap of garbage.
What do you want to bet this guy's favorite Cage movie is also Con Air?
It could be.
All the reviews to select, they seem to have that in common.
Or Gone in 60 Seconds.
Or Gone in,
seems to be
which
our
is
favorite.
not even as good as Con Air.
Here's a semi-short one.
All right.
Everyone seems to love this movie, so judge for yourself. But I hated it. I love Richard Stanley movies and HPL, but this was not good. It's a very generic movie of its time, with awful characters and little of Stanley or Lovecraft shows through. It's not
Of its
entertaining
time?
or scary. I know, right? I was like, what do you mean of its time?
This is not
last
of its
year.
time.
What are you
Yeah.
fucking
Maybe
talking
people are
about?
just so affected by the quarantine, they're just getting
Oh,
to
this
that
guy
point.
wrote
like,
this in the throes of
19
COVID. He hallucinated another movie.
Yes. Every change.
Sorry.
And to bring back up,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say earlier, I think, Donnie, you were mentioning the actual
Yes.
story it's based on. And this, I listened to it the other day. It sticks pretty close to the
Yeah.
story. So the whole of its time thing, I think, is pretty, I don't know. I'd say it's actually more off because
Yeah.
I feel like it's a timeless movie, but it sticks with the same story, the same premise, pretty
Yeah.
much. You get the Heath,
Yeah, it's
you
a
get the
very
Meteor.
respectful modernization.
Not as much with a
Well,
yeah.
I think
No hippies,
yeah,
but
I kind of think it's because people try doing this in films, and I think maybe this is what Stanley was going for, is outside of their cell phones. I mean, they really didn't include a lot to really tell you the time period. So it's like there are films that kind of are almost dateless. You can't really tell. It could apply to any time.
Yeah.
And this movie, it did fit. It did seem like modern, but why
Well,
they're saying it's
don't know.
of its time, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I wouldn't say that it was like anachronistic or anything, but it's. I mean, I guess I could kind of see what you're talking about. Like they have a horse that she takes down to the lake, and
Yeah, because she's a rich,
she tries to get away
spoiled
on the
person,
horse.
you know? They do that. They have
So-
horses. It all still works.
A guy has a Miskatonic University shirt, and they mention the names of other towns in Lovecraft stories. That's all
Yeah,
that
like
ties
Dunwich.
it to his work. The color is supposed to be one that no one has ever seen before, which I understand a movie can't create a new color, but they chose it to be magenta, which is the color of everything nowadays.
At least they said
I
magenta
wish
and not
Richard
pinky
all
purple like the
best, but
critics
this
did.
movie sucks.
The critics apparently don't know the word for magenta. They all said pinky purple.
Yeah. This is by far the longest review.
Oh, boy.
And it's worth it.
Okay.
It's worth it because how they chose to end
Okay, settle in, everybody.
it. Do you remember, as a young person, laying in your dark room by a tiny lamp in the dark, getting to the end of reading The Color Out of Space, and thinking to yourself, that was so good. It's just a darn shame there is no storyline at all, and nowhere near enough content to actually produce a 90-minute movie from it. So, did the makers of this film. So, rewriting the entire story was totally justified and understandable. I can only assume they couldn't get the rights, and this certainly wasn't going to stop them from putting the brilliant original story on film. Just because they weren't allowed to tell the brilliant original story, so they just had to rewrite it. You're a smart kid. You understand. That's why, I presume, it's called Color Out of Space and not The Color Out of Space. I'm sure. Spoiler alert, because you're not going to watch it anyway. Tell me you're not going to watch it. We clearly needed to update the story to 2020 and tell the story in real time to make sure we got rid of any of that pesky foreboding that was just going to waste time and film. Add in a love interest daughter named Lavinia. That's not a clever homage, writers. It's actually lazy and insulting to Lovecraft fans to steal from another story. You coke-smoking hacks.
What the fuck?
Who just happens to have a copy in paperback form of the Necronomicon. That's entirely inconsequential in the story.
This guy needs to watch Uli Lamel's
And
The Tomb.
And a squatter, mystic, octogenarian hippie, physical embodiment of okay boomer, who just magically knows what's going on and nobody listens to his sage wisdom. And he doesn't even care anyway. And let's just put some very important, not important at all, alpacas in there for good measure. Then pepper the script
All
with
right.
dumb, unmotivated lines like, honey, I'm not a monster. I know I'm not my dad. By the dad whose dad is never mentioned as anything. Well, anything other than the original owner of the cabin. And a son trying to call 911 on a cell phone and yelling, I can't get a dial tone, when he isn't even old enough to remember what a dial tone is to begin with. Never mind the fact that cell phones don't have dial tones, you coke-smoking hacks!
There it is again.
And the inevitable, I'll come back for you, from the made-up love interest daughter's love interest who didn't actually have to come back at all, cause, well, you know, you could just do that right now instead. And you've got yourself a prime script. And if you are thinking to yourself, well, with all the CG technology these days, I at least want to see how how mad and the indescribable otherworldly colors of the color out of space could be. Just stop right there. It's pink. It's just pink.
It's not
Out
pink.
of the well, and at the end, a pink tornado. Well, what about the blasted heath? Dude, stop. It's literally the end of Predator without the chopper. I'm doing you a solid here. Just stop being curious about this one. It's a waste of $4. If you like the color out of space, do not watch Color Out of Space. Just go watch Annihilation instead. It's a much better scene. Scene. That's how he ends it.
Wrong.
4 paragraphs.
Annihilation.
Of
course
just
you
to end it
enjoyed-
with and scene.
Of course you enjoyed the Annihilation. You like the 2016 Ghostbusters.
I don't even think they are aware that
I-
Annihilation is like a
We'll
three
get into
or
that later.
4 book series.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I don't know if you guys picked up on the real hint that he accidentally left in there, the author. This is obviously an angry llama farmer who's trying to get back. He made one little snide comment. He tried to keep his alpaca comments out, but he had to get an alpaca dig
But
in
you
there.
know
This
something?
is somebody from the llama industry
Cousin,
trying
he
to
wears
undermine
his
this
MAGA
movie.
hat backwards because that's like a switch there, boy. Time for some arm wrestling.
This could have been written by an alpaca because anyone can be a human being online.
It could have been written by an alpaca smoking cocaine. Am I right? Am I right, everybody?
I'll packer this movie right to hell.
Fuck.
See, this is why we needed you on, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
You notice these things.
Let's see if Darcy, the male girl, can talk about alpacas as much as I can.
Not a
Steve, do you like
chance.
Alice Cooper?
I do like Alice Cooper. He ruined the Muppets
Do you
for
like
me
his
when I was younger.
1975
But I've forgiven him
album,
for that.
Welcome to My Nightmare?
I'm more of a. I think I checked out at Go to Hell.
Go
Was
to
that
Hell was right
before or
afterwards. That
after
one's in 77.
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Sorry.
My biggest.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, go
no,
ahead.
that's the Alice Cooper solo post Alice Cooper band with Bob Ezrin still producing.
I just can't
hey,
really
Adrian?
enjoy
Hi, Linda.
Alice Cooper anymore because he has to talk about Alice Cooper the character versus Alice Cooper the person.
Well, yeah.
It's a good idea though, because I like the idea. I've thought about that of developing a character. So I was actually thinking of Alice Cooper the other day because I saw somewhere where he kind of goes, he like gets into character like an hour before the show. And I thought about how many things I could get away with if I said, honey, that wasn't me. I was getting to Steve the podcaster
go.
character. And that's why, you know,
I'm
that's
the
why we now
chief.
own $100,000 worth of alpacas.
right.
But let me show you the insurance on these things. We're in good shape now.
Yeah, that's
The
why they call me
tomatoes aren't working
Alpaca
out,
Steve.
but
Speaking of tomatoes, Linda, what were you saying earlier?
I was just gonna say, Adrian, how did we get into Alice Cooper?
Because
Yeah, I'm kind of curious where the fuck your mind pulled that out. of, because you do this a
I do
lot.
this with every
You were
guest.
thinking of Noel
No,
Fielding,
no,
or-
it's because Steve is short for Steven.
Is it because only alpacas bleed? Is that what brought you?
No,
Like-
good one.
No, the song
Is
Steven.
someone
Okay.
calling
$1 million
me? I
There we
hear
go.
my name. Sorry.
God.
We're glad to have you here, Steve.
All right.
The llama
Yeah.
behind
Thank you.
the mask.
And I'm gonna make a remake on YouTube. I'll make a Steven video just with alpaca
Nice.
footage. I'll find like creepy alpaca.
Yeah, link us to your channel.
There's
We're
a
gonna
dirty
make this come
llama in
true.
the background.
So, do you guys feel ready for Adrian's special segment?
Oh, let's give the special boy his segment.
It's time for sequel, return,
Return.
more, harder.
Much harder, hornier, horner.
Okay.
All right, you.
I guess
you get
I'll
to go
start.
first,
Okay.
special boy.
All right. Follow Ward Phillips to the Australian outback as he searches out proof that his mind was swapped out with one of the great old ones. A harrowing experience that left him the shadow out of time. Based on the story by H.P. Lovecraft. Coming this summer. Rated R.
Donnie.
In the follow-up sequel to Color Out of Space, Ward Phillips has worked endlessly to try and bring back Lavinia. After locating a small chunk of the original meteor, he teams up with a leading herbologist, Cheech Marin. The two, through their research, discover a way to open a portal. but are unsure if it will lead them to Lavinia or another dimension. What occurs is a madcap race between timelines, as each portal takes Ward to another film version adaptation of The Color Out of Space, where they will need to work together with the likes of Will Wheaton on his stepfather's farm, Boris Karloff in his laboratory, and in order to keep the portals open and open a new direct portal to the dimension of the living meteor came from in an attempt to rescue Lavinia and their sanity.
That'll be right up there with John dies at the end. That's awesome.
That was a fun movie too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was an even more fun
Yeah.
book if you read the book. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, the movie's okay too.
And,
I'm not dissing it.
It's directed by, what's his name? Don
Don
Coscarelli.
Coscarelli, a
right?
fucking Beastmaster, motherfucker. Yeah.
which for people caring,
Phantasm.
Vinegar Syndrome is putting out a 4K restoration of the director's cut of Beast.
Ah!
Oh,
All the ferret action you can handle.
Ah!
shit. I don't know. I can handle a lot.
I love Mark Singer.
And I love Rip Torn.
He's awesome too.
Who doesn't? For my sequel, Return More Harder, I just, I don't, as usual, I don't have something elaborate like you guys do. I just want to see either the adventures of Lavinia in the New World, or I want to see like the llamas weren't killed, or excuse me, the alpacas were not murdered. Alpaca
Thank you.
monster. Yeah, and alpaca monster is really just like trying to
Adjust.
assimilate. Yeah, it's trying to adjust, and it's going from town to town, trying to learn what it is to be human and what it is to be American. And he goes around meeting a bunch of different characters in different villages and helping out.
And then
Kind of like the whole.
alpacas in party hats.
I was gonna say, can they
Yes.
wear hats and one of them be named Carl?
Carl!
It's like I had a rumbly in my tumbly that only human hands could satisfy.
What's with the meat dragon, Carl?
Sorry, I just keep thinking of Charlie. Anyway, did you have one?
So I feel like
I'm sorry.
I do. I feel like I gotta see a
Okay.
prequel. I've got to learn what happened when Nathan Gardner is concerned that his wife Teresa's business, because she does business
yeah.
all the time, is just what it's doing to her. All the business that she does because she's
She
a
is.
business person, and meets Val Kilmer and Mark Singer, who have a plan for him.
All right.
If he can purchase some alpacas and move out to the country, how he can get his wife
It's
away
just
from
like
her
Baby
business.
Boom.
It would be. That would be the prequel to set it up.
And that's how they
I'm here
make
for it.
applesauce.
Oh, applesauce.
You know, you say this and about her doing business because she does business. It reminds me of Tom Green and Freddie Got Fingered. I'm doing business, Daddy. I have a cell phone because I do business. I'm a businessman. I do business.
There's
things.
only one LeBaron.
Also with Rip Torn.
Yeah, he gets around.
Also with Rip Torn.
With the applesauce makes me think of what was it? Was it the peach where he called it the Teresa peach?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I gotta love it.
For hours.
So, y'all ready for Face
Face
Off?
off.
We probably should,
All right.
because if not, I'm going to talk about the monster llama or monster alpaca waiting for people to milk it and kind of demanding it. like a movie where it's kind of like Maximum Overdrive, but there's all these monster alpacas going, milk me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, we gotta milk them or they're gonna kill us.
Speaking of Milk Me, my face off would be a production from 1932, because that's the year that Technicolor developed the beam splitter and actually became affordable. You didn't actually have to glue different strips together. So I'm figuring, early 30s production, really classy cast, Charlie Chaplin, Lillian Gish, maybe get an early Fritz Lang directorial stab in there. Yeah.
Oh. Don Waldio.
This is in the 80s. And Nathan is played by a very young, boisterous Wilford Brimley.
Ooh.
Teresa is Meg Ryan. Lavinia, Sophia Coppola.
Oh.
Ward is Roddy McDowell.
Oh, you don't
Ezra
understand.
is played by TV's Ted Danson. And because it's actually
Do love
age
him.
appropriate, Benny is Matt Damon and Jack is Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Will Wheaton in the wheat fields, writing.
Mine is super simple. Once again, I have to go with because I love the director. I love the cast. So in reality, I wouldn't want to change them. But if I had to, I'd say director, writer. I'm gonna go with Cronenberg because it makes sense. Playing Nathan is Antonio Banderas. And playing Teresa is Melanie Griffith because I want to see her fused with somebody else and to become a monster.
that was
To
how
reach her full
that was the
potential.
plot of Working Girl. Sigourney Weaver, let's buy a radio station together. Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm too busy seducing Harrison Ford. La da da. But I'm gonna keep talking like this. Working Girl. I do business.
It's her ultimate form is to fuse with somebody else.
I was born yesterday.
So, who did you have, Steve?
I showed my cards a little bit earlier, but I'd like to see a John Waters version of this.
God, yes.
You could have Divine playing the roles of both Nathan and Teresa,
Yes.
Nice.
and the leftover children from the Brady Bunch could be. There had to be some kids that were guest stars for back end pilots. You ever see a couple times you'll see a Brady Bunch where they're trying to launch another show.
Murder, She
There's ones
Wrote and Married with
Ken
Children
Berry
did that a
adopted
lot.
some kids or something.
Yeah.
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 Or maybe just Joni and Chachi.
Call
as
it the
the children.
Assignment
I'm not
Earth
sure, but I'm
syndrome.
sure John Waters would.
It works.
Yeah.
And then
it.
Vincent Price shows up and one of them has to soil themselves.
Yeah.
Were y'all able to come up with any cagey wisdom?
Never live in the country. Raise those alpacas in town.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you're gonna do a interview about a meteor, make sure nobody says UFOs because then they're gonna think you also believe in UFOs.
And then somebody will have to sing Doctor, Doctor, Please.
Or that, I guess, because why not?
Steve, were you able to come up with any wisdom?
Yeah. If you're gonna buy alpacas, you get that
Yeah.
insurance.
Them
Not-
shits are
not
like
an
sports
option.
cars,
It's an
son.
investment.
You lock down that insurance.
Mine was that alpacas are the animal of the future.
Animal of the future.
Of the future!
Well,
I
well,
guess this is
well.
the part where I say, please, please, please listen, follow, rate, and review Cage's Kiss on Apple Podcasts and in Podchaser, especially on that Apple Podcast. Helps other people find us, and a bunch of good things happen. And you might get sexual pleasure out of it. I hope. We'll definitely be sending those thoughts to you. Check out our stuff on YouTube. It has that awesome Adrian art.
Oh.
And check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Cage's Kiss, where you can find the commentary track that we created for Color Out of
Raw
Space.
impressions, people.
And yeah, and we have a bunch of fun stuff on there, like free ringtones. Adrian created some awesome stickers. We have some
I did that
stickers,
thing,
buttons,
yeah.
and such. And just last month we played. We had a gameplay
Phasmophobia.
session. Yeah, of Phasmophobia, which was all Donnie's plan, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, for just $1 a month, you can join us and be one of
Join
us.
us.
And, was it $30 a month? I think you can get an Adrian sketch,
I think we said that, yeah.
and for $20 a month, you can get live video feed of Donnie punching Adrian.
Yeah.
We'll set that up any day now.
I'll pack of your face.
And we're still waiting for Carlos to give the green light for his. Remember, you can find Cage's Kiss on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Cage's Kiss. You can visit our website at cageskiss.com. where you could find some of Adrian's non-cage art. You can also find some of Donnie's awesome reviews, and you can find our episode notes. You can also write to us at cageskiss@gmail.com. Check out my other podcast about witches and histories and stories of all genres, all kinds. Also, we sometimes cover awesome animals in history and heroic, awesome animals.
Like Meowth.
And yeah, called the show's called Bed Knobs and Broom Flicks. It's got licks at the end, so you know it's enjoyable. But yeah, so now I could stop talking because I need to go die. Adrian, can you tell people how to find you?
But wait, you necrophiliac corpse, you! You also are a part of When Girls
Were Golden!
Golden Girls podcast.
It's sadly on hiatus.
It's about that golden
And
age!
Lynn and I are both a part of
Coyote's Bluff!
radio audio drama.
Yeah, check out Coyote's Bluff, and you can check me out as Lila in Dispatches of Disassociation.
Gonna see Miss Lila.
Thank you, Donnie, because brain is not working now. It's kind of done.
You lose brain cells when you die. Linda's teaching us that.
Adrian, where can the
Slowly.
people find you?
I am Leo the Fox on Patreon and on DeviantArt. It's the one that's all lowercase, all run together, all one word. There are other Leo the Foxes online, but I'm the only one with a DeviantArt account with 3,000 artworks on it. And I just got a blogger account this week. We're going to see if that comes to anything. That's Adriana Eden Smith Artworks. And I'm on YouTube and Goodreads, and follow me various places. Please, please give me money. I could really use some. I'll draw you some shit.
Yeah.
This is Leo the Fox. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Well, there
His
are
name
also
is Leo the Fox.
there are also many Adrian Smiths. That's why the blogger's under my full name.
Yes.
I can see that. Donnie, where can the people find you?
Usually in the Peep store, like, I don't know, between noon and 3. I kind of
Ooh.
just hang out there by the wall. Otherwise, you can find me as the Boy Who Blew on Pornhub. I'm also Unreal Goals on Twitter and Lekua Blue on the Twitch. I also have under Unreal Goals the Wisdom in the Bottle, which I'm getting ready for my film reviews to start coming out, where I'm going to be doing drinking while watching these films and then talking about them, which I also did as a Gonzo-style review on our Cage's Kiss website under Cage's Kiss/Donnie's Reviews, where I just talked about Little Monsters, the Fred Savage film from
Oh, shit.
1989. And you really should check it out, the movie itself as well, because I want to know people's thoughts on what kid was doing enough cocaine back then to consider 2 pieces of white bread, peanut butter, and 2 whole sections of onion in the middle to be a sandwich that you want to enjoy. Because apparently he did.
I don't know. We ate some weird shit as kids.
Thank you,
I
Howie
think the weirdest
Mandel.
thing I can say you and I ever ate that was absolutely delicious was taking Wonder
Dog
Bread.
biscuits?
No, it's getting Wonder Bread, and you put little Hershey's Kisses on it, and then you melt it in the microwave for like 10 seconds or so, and then put another piece of bread over it with peanut butter. And for some reason, it was delicious as a kid would imagine it.
I don't know why we have a weight problem.
Yeah. I
We'll
mean, people
explore
can
that.
try it now, and you won't have to worry. Your diabetes will not kick in for another 10 years, I promise you.
So, Steve, can you tell us about your awesome shows?
Sure. So my podcast is Origin of Species. That's Speak, CIES. Every week, my friend Scott and I, we examine the history and origin behind different words and phrases. Some recent episodes we've had included virtue signaling, conspiracy theory, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Spoiler alert, you don't want to throw the baby out. That's not good.
That kind of avoids the warrant.
And we try to have at least one special guest every month, and I will announce here on this show that one of my great cinematic heroes is going to be our guest in December, from the King of Kong, Billy Mitchell.
Holy shit.
So the next time you guys see me online, my hair will look a lot better because I'm going to get some hair tips from him to get some magnificent,
Damn right as well, you should.
luminous. I mean, that's the whole reason we really set him up for that. Is just we're going to talk about your hair for 45 minutes so we can look as good as you do.
That is so awesome.
Give me a head with hair.
But you can find us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever new weird thing's been invented between now and when this will be released. And also on Twitter and Instagram.
Find
at
Species wherever
Species.
fine podcasts are sold.
And I was just listening to your guys' episode today about was it Roll Tide and Crimson.
War Eagle. Yeah, we did the history behind the battle cries of the Alabama football team and also the Auburn University football team. They have their big Iron Bowl game coming up.
Oh man.
And again, it was some stealth marketing for the ladies, so I'm glad, Linda, it worked. We snagged you in with it.
Oh, I fell prey to marketing strategies again.
You did.
Yep.
But oh my god. And Billy Mitchell's in he was in Top Secret, wasn't he? Was he?
No, this guy is the champion Donkey Kong world record
Oh, the
holder,
King
who was
of
in the
Kong, a
documentary
fistful
King
of
of Kong.
quarters. That DVD had some
Oh, I
really
could've been
sweet
wrong, Billy Mitchell.
artwork on the back of the main sleeve. If you turn it around.
And it's one of those movies that, like some people now have revisited The Karate Kid to see like Johnny as the hero. Some people like see Billy Mitchell as the villain of this movie, but I think that he's been framed and done wrong. So if you get a chance, if you've seen that movie, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Check it out. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We were definitely happy to have you on here. And
Well, thank you so much for having me here. If you would have told me a couple weeks ago, my Friday night would be spent discussing Nicolas Cage and alpacas. Frankly, that was probably on the table of happening, but to get to do it with you guys, it's a joy and a pleasure. So thank you so much for having me. We'll have to return the favor, have you guys come visit us sometime.
oh, definitely. I've always been intrigued by like the history of words and phrases, especially bad words.
What are words for?
When nobody listens. You'll be hearing from us next week when we cover Running with the Devil, which you could stream for free.
I'll tell you one time.
And we're going to be joined by either a friend or some friends from Capes on the Couch. So really excited. Good times. And if you don't have a subscription to Hulu, you can find it on the usual platforms, Amazon Prime, Redbox, Apple, whatever. But yeah, so good times, guys.
All right.
Hot damn.
What are you doing here, Linda? Like, why aren't you dead still? Why are you here? Why don't you just fuck off? Right? Or no, I'll do you better, and I'll fuck off out of your face.
Go feed your mother.
Fennels.
The torch has been passed.
Cage. Peach. I could eat a peach for hours. Please.